Hello and welcome back to Advanced Animation Application. My name's Charles, and today we're going to be looking at the blend bone per... what's it called? Layered blend per bone. So, let us begin us. You can see I already have a Anim Graph set up. It's completely irrelevant. We're just going to be going into the base pose here. We're going to come out of the base pose into here. So this is going to be the last thing that's applied. Then into the blend poses 0. Let's just put in a reference pose. Now we hit compile. You can see nothing's actually happened to my character preview over here. But if I click on this and then up in the top right hand side, we have this little section called branch filters, and I click that one. Then what we can do, we can expand this and we can say bone name spine 01. Right, let's hit compile. And now you can see that my character from spine upwards is using a reference pose, which is an A pose. So if we now jump into our game, you can see that our character can just, he can join his friends over here in being an aeroplane, right? And then I think even if I ragdoll, yeah, it will maintain that pose. So this is pretty useless, but there are actual applications. So let's say you wanted to play a montage of some sort, but only from the waist up. So what we could do is go to our attack animations. So I'm going to grab this attack animation that I've made earlier. What I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to create an montage. I'm just going to call it tutorial montage. And then inside here, I want to go to the Anim slot manager, and we're going to add a slot, and we're going to call this slot upper body only, or whatever you want to call it. So now I have this upper body only slot, and so over here where it says default group default slot, we're going to click this slot button. We're going to go slot name, and we're going to find the upper body only one that we created just before. A little bug that happens, you will have to like sort of move this back and forth once to make it update properly. So now in our viewer, we're going to get our default slot. We're going to change it to the upper body only slot. Upper body only slot. Going to put that into the blend pose 0 slot. And into the source of this, we are going to cache whatever pose we got before this. Let's just call this tutorial cache. You might want to call yours pre-upper body cache or something. And then we're going to retrieve that here. Put it into there, and then we're also going to duplicate that, put that into the base pose. So if I then go into my actual character logic blueprint, and I say, let's just make another debug button. Let's just grab this O button. This might be your attack button. This might be, you know, whatever logic you have in order to play an animation that you want to play. Let's go play montage in skeletal mesh component. So we want our scaly mesh. The montage to play is going to be called tutorial montage. Play rate 1, starting position 0, starting section, we don't have any section set up. And that's just going to do its thing. Now if we hit play and we press O, you're going to see it's only playing this on the top half of the character, but it's also got root motion enabled. So that's one thing that we're going to go and turn off. If you do want to turn a root motion animation into an in-place animation, all you need to do is go to the animation in question, and down here where it says enable root motion, we want to untick that. So now this is going to be like this, kind of looks dodgy, but then we can force a root lock. So now this looks like a root motion animation, but it isn't going to actually translate the root forward. So now if we go back to play and we hit O, you can see our character does this super janky punching animation, because obviously we're, you know, only doing it from the spine up. But you can see this is completely independent from everything else that is going on with the character. It's kind of brutal as well. Imagine getting fucking clotheslined by this fella. Bam! Another place I use this is in my combat locomotion stuff. So I've got this combat turn in place and combat strafing states. We will talk about the blend poses by bool function in the next video. But essentially what I'm doing is I'm separating the walking of the combat strafing and turning in place by spine 01. So the reason that I've opted to do that is because if I'm in combat mode, essentially all of the footwork will be the same for every weapon type, you know, whether I'm using a sword or I'm using, you know, a dagger, or I'm using my fists, or, you know, a two-handed mega sword. Basically, the strafing will always be the same. So that way I can just use an idle pose on the upper body while the lower body does the walking. And that will save a lot of animation time and a lot of sort of setting up different state machines and stuff like that. And you can also see when I stop moving, we turn in place nicely. And so that's all completely separate from the upper body. Woohoo! Anyway, so I hope you learned something today. If you did find this educational or entertaining, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because it really helps out the, you know, the algorithm and the blah blah blah, YouTube. If you do want to go one step further and support the channel and my endeavors, you can subscribe to our Patreon below for as little as $1 a month, and all of that really does add up, and it gives me a lot more time to be able to focus on making tutorials, making Prismatica, which, you know, everything that I learned with Prismatica, I, you know, turn into a tutorial and teach you guys. So thanks to everyone that has subscribed so far. And with that, I say goodbye. Goodbye.